Hey Treasure History! Today's essential question is, what was it like to be a hunter-gatherer? Please pause this video and copy this essential question at the top of your notebook. There are 3 important vocabulary words to write at the very top of your notebook page. Remember, key vocab goes in the big open space above your essential question. Please pause your video to copy these 3 terms: temporary shelter, hunter-gatherer, and nomad. When you see these words in your notes later, make sure you circle them. If you ever see them in a multiple choice question, make sure you circle them. So let's talk about something called the Paleolithic Age. Please pause this video to copy your topic and details, and then we'll talk more about what that means. So have you ever heard of the Stone Age before? The Paleolithic era, or Paleolithic Age, is the historian's name for the older part of the Stone Age, or the Old Stone Age. Paleo just means old. Underline paleo and underline old in your notes to show that they mean the same thing. Lith means stone. So this part of the word lith means stone, which I can remember because this is the Old Stone Age. The reason they call it the Stone Age is because this was the time when hominids and early humans used stone tools. This era started about 2.6 million years ago and lasted up until about 35,000 years ago. Think about how long that was. More than 2 million years. But also think about how short it was compared to the entire toilet paper timeline we saw on the first day. Here are some stone tools used in the Paleolithic era. Isn't it amazing that they still exist today? We're very lucky to have these artifacts to study. Besides stone tools, Paleolithic people also used tools made out of bones and wood, but not metal. Notice there are no metal tools here because there was no metal yet, only what people could find in nature right around them. Hunter-gatherers also used slingshots, bows and arrows, axes, spears to hunt and also fight. They used all the parts of the animals that they hunted. They created needles out of bones and then used the tendons from animals as the thread to sew together the animal skins. They used those skins for clothing and shelter. They used the stone and bone tools to protect themselves from other enemies and also from animal predators. They used their tools to build shelters and, of course, most of all, to hunt. Here are some examples of Paleolithic clothing. The most common clothing, especially when it was cold, was animal skin. And remember, that was sewn together using those bone needles. Another type was from plant matter. You could use grasses and leaves to sew those together and make other types of clothing too. Hominids and early people in the Paleolithic times got their food by hunting wild animals and gathering wild plants. They hunted large animals like horses, mammoths, and buffalo, depending on what animals were common in the place where they lived. They gathered plants like fruits and nuts, vegetables, and berries. Most of the food that they ate came from the gathering because hunting was dangerous and it was hard to do. And there were a lot more plants around and they were easier to find than to find those big animals. The work was divided. Mostly women did the gathering and men did the hunting. Please pause to copy your second topic, hunter-gatherer. So if you were going to hunt wild animals and gather wild plants, you would have to keep on moving around or migrating. Hunter-gatherers could stay in one place for a few days, or a few weeks, or even a few months, but they would always keep moving eventually. Think about it. If you hunt and gather in the same place for long enough, the food supply will become scarce. There won't be any more animals to kill or any more plants to find. At that point, you have to pack up and move on. People who move around to follow their food source are called nomads. Check out this map. When you see a map on paper, the first thing I always want you to do is circle the map tools like the title, the key, and the scale. We don't have a title here, so let's start with the key. This is crazy. Look how far humans walked. They didn't ride horses, and they especially didn't have cars. All this migration happened on foot by walking. My scale tells me that just this little amount of space here represents 4,000 miles. Remember that all this walking happened over more than 2 million years, so it happened very slowly. In a day, you wouldn't walk from here to here. But over 2 million years, humans had started here in Africa, and eventually they made it all around the whole entire world. Please pause your video to copy this topic, nomad. These are some shelters of nomads that lived in the Paleolithic times. If you're moving around a lot, you have to live in something called a temporary shelter. Here are some examples of temporary shelters. First we have a cave, that's the earliest one. It's easy because if you come across an opening in rocks, then you can go in and use that as a shelter for a few days, and then move on, leaving it just how you found it. But sometimes you might walk to places where there are no caves. So here are some other types of shelter. This one here is called a bone house. It's made out of mammoth bones. Can you imagine living in a house made out of bones? This one here is made out of grasses and branches. And this one here is made out of animal skins sewn together. No matter what type of shelter it was easy to either pack up and take with you, or just leave it, and eventually it would be used for something else. Please take this time to copy your last topic in details. You have temporary shelter. I only want you to copy temporary shelter. Ignore that down. So temporary shelter over here. Temporary shelter means houses for nomads. These shelters are easily moved, left behind, or taken down. So the down really goes over here. These temporary shelters were made of animal skins, leaves, or bones, or sometimes caves. Press pause if you need more time to copy. Life as a hunter-gatherer was dangerous and also pretty uncertain. You were never really sure if your next meal was going to happen. Think about it, when you're up against these guys, you don't really know if you're going to be able to kill them. We're going to talk more about that for the rest of class when we practice. So now it's time for you to close up your computer, and I'd like to hear more from you about what you think.